campaign behind it, and then all of a sudden, like you've won at business. It's not the case anymore. You have to have a good product.
You do.
Which is really good in this day and age because it's weeding out all the bad businesses who, there's a lot of bad guys out there, right? So I think number one, having a good product and believing in that product. Because, for example, in every one of my businesses, I believe with my heart and soul that it is the best product out there, right? And to the point where I actually utilize the product myself. So I'm, constantly in our marketing campaigns, I'm telling everyone, yeah, this is exactly what I do. This is exactly what I use. And it's the truth. It's the complete truth. And if you're trying to flog something off that, either doesn't work or you're just working for the company just for the sake of working for the company, people see straight through it these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember back in the day, we used to have fat people work in supplement stores.
Yeah.
Like, and then those fat people would come up to me and go, yeah, Zah, I use this L-carnitine to strip body fat. And I'm like, well, it's not really working, man. Like, that's a sales script, right? And you might get, 2 or 3 out of 10 dumbasses who would walk in and actually believe you because you've got this great sales pitch. But, those people aren't going to come back to you, you know what I mean? So you've got to believe in your product, answering your question.
Correct.
You've got to have a good product, you've got to believe in it, and you've got to back it.
Correct.
You need to have a story. You need to have, with any industry you're in, this is what I've found out, coming from a retail industry to a service-based industry, you need to have a story behind your main source of product, right?
Correct.
And even if that means developing a cult following, or if that following, as well as a what's the difference between your product and everyone else's? Because like Zah said, there's so much now in the world. Like, the world is populating over and over and over again, but there's more and more people, right? There's more and more competition. There's more and more people jumping out into the big wide world now of business and selling themselves. So you are now, you weren't just a small fish in a big pond. You're now a small fish in a massive ocean, and it's getting harder. Excuse me, but if you can really, and again, it does take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you can get that story out and project that story over and over and over again, you will get picked up, and I'm talking on a personal level as well. Even if you just want to, you're working for a massive firm, corporation. Like, there'll be a story that some certain CEO or boss would look down and go, yeah, you know what? I like this guy's attitude. He doesn't have the best qualifications. The person next to him's got a better qualification, but the drive, the heart, the ticker, where he's come from, or she, or whatever it is, they show. Essentially like me in my position that I'm in, within the company here, and
the heart will always trump the brain.
100% it will. 100%.
Exactly what's happened with you, because you've got a pea brain, but you've got a massive heart, right? And your heart trumps it.
Disclaimer: it's not that small. No. But 100%. And you know why? Because I believe in a story, and you give me any form of product and put it and say, right, this is who you are now. Like, that product is going to become your identity.
Yeah, you believe in it.
I believe in it,
and you back it.
100%.
You know what I mean? You back it till you die, and that's the beauty of good salespeople, is that they back themselves so hard that they basically would use the products or the service even if they didn't work for the company.
Yeah.
Right. That's the key there. Like, if you go up to a sales rep or whoever's trying to sell you something and say, look, you didn't work for this company, would you use this product?
Yeah.
If they are hesitant, then you've got to ask the question, okay, is this guy just working for the company? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to question it. So, it's important that you back the product. It's important that you believe in it. And sometimes it's hard because some people listening today are probably involved in different industries that they probably don't really like. And what I would say to those people is get out of that industry. Get into something that they're passionate about. Get into something that they can really believe in and back, and they'll probably be better at what they do.
Yep.
I would actually really like to open up, just based off what I've done over the past 2 weeks, surrounding story-based selling. I've literally flown around the country for the past 2 weeks building profiles on athletes to sell a product. Telling their story from how they started, why they are who they are today, all to sell a product. if you're going to sell something and you're going to do it through a story, just make sure your story's good firstly. Everyone's got a good story, as long as you think about the things that have got you to where you are today more than anything else. You know what I mean? Athletes are a really good one to use because they've always got a story behind them. Or I don't know. Most good athletes have come from some form of trial and tribulation somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I think majority of Australia's top athletes weren't King's school people. You know what I mean? Like, they all had a bit of a rougher upbringing all to the stuff.
They're from out bush.
They're from the bush. They're from the West, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like, half the NRL players and all to the stuff, they had terrible upbringings. You know what I mean? And they use it as a way to break out and start making something of themselves at the same time.
That's how they express themselves. Yeah.
Exactly, it's how they express themselves. And the selling point of that is going, fuck, I'm really good at throwing a ball. You know what I mean? And they had to sell themselves to the NRL to get themselves into that position where they are now. You know what I mean? They might not have known that they were selling themselves, but they were, for God's sake. You know what I mean? So the story-based selling aspect of it is huge.
Yeah.
Huge, and just like with you're doing the Luxland stuff, you know what I mean? It's you're doing a lot of story-based stuff now.
Well, yeah.
All the articles you're writing, it's all relative to your life and how you can provide value to someone through your stories.
Well, everyone wants to hear it. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to hear whoever else is sort of successful at what they want to be successful at. They want to hear the story behind it because so they can resonate to it or maybe sort of follow that same path.
Correct.
Right? But I think where a lot of people go wrong with selling is that they think about themselves too much, right? And they don't think about others because realistically, breaking it down, selling is not about you, right? It's not about the dollars.
No.
Selling is not about the dollars. Selling is about focusing on solutions for the other person. So basically helping people.
Yeah.
So I don't call it selling, I call it helping. Right, so if we can help the other person, then that's of value to them. They're gonna want to pay for that service or pay for that product, right? So, for example, someone goes down to a supplement store, they're a little bit overweight, right? And they come to the counter and they look at the sales assistant and they go, okay, I want to lose some weight.
Yeah.
Right? The sales assistant goes, okay, I've got this stack, it's L-carnitine, T432, and some other fat burner,
Whatever
for example, right? So 3 different products.
Yeah.
Use these in conjunction with each other. You should look at with a diet and exercise, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You should drop a kilo a week, right?
Yeah.
Use this for 10 weeks. You'll probably drop 10 kilos.
Yeah.
Right? That's a solution.
In conjunction with a good diet.
That's right. Yeah. All of that other stuff, right? With the advice and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that sales assistant has provided a solution, right? Which then in turn the customer or the client will go, yeah, I'm going to hand over some money, right?
Yeah.
But where people go wrong is that the sales assistant may be thinking about his or her sales only, right? And go, you know what? I can get this person for an extra $200, $300, $400 on all of these products where I don't think they actually need, right? Yeah. And look, we've all been there. I know, like, I've experienced it where people have sold me stuff that I don't need, right? And it's extremely hard for sales assistants to look past it and go, you know what, you don't need this stuff, right? You just need this stuff over here that only costs $100 instead of $300. Take this first, come back in 10 weeks, and then we'll reassess it, right? Yep. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to do that because everyone's, working on targets. You want to get as much as you can. But if you look at the long term, right?
They're going to return.
That's right. Like if you suck me in to getting $300 worth of products, and then I go home, I go on the internet, chat to friends about these products that I've gotten, and I find out that it's not for me. I'm going to be dirty on that sales assistant, right? And you know what happens? I never go back to that store or to that sales assistant. So it's very important for people to acquire the skill to tell others what they don't need, right? Because it's easy to me, selling's easy. I can sell anything to anyone, right? But where you really got to acquire the skill is to go, all right, no, you don't need these yet, or because the other person, the customer, for example, will appreciate that.
Yeah, they will.
They'll go, wow, you actually care about me, right? I am going to actually keep coming back to you.
Yeah.
Like, how good does it feel when a sales assistant goes, you know what, don't waste your money. Like, just spend half the amount of money and just get this thing over here, right? It actually feels really good because you go,
it does.
Oh, you actually care about me.
You give a shit.
Exactly. So more people need to do that, Stop thinking of the short term, think of the long term.
I love that, but I'm also going to flip it on its head a little bit there too. If they're buying one product and you know that that's probably not enough to get them to their goal, it's your service to tell them they probably should buy that second add-on product to make sure they're going to get to their goal that they're trying to achieve as well. If they're buying one, it's just not going to do it's not going to achieve what they're trying to mentally achieve, and you don't tell them about that, you haven't provided them the full service that they're meant to achieve.
I was going to say...
Like, you need to gauge it, I think.
It comes down to what they need,
Correct,
right?
correct.
If you're going excessive,
if you're
purely
being
thinking
stupid,
about yourself,
correct,
then you're a bad salesman. Right?
100%.
You might get the extra basket value or whatever it is, how you judge your targets and all of that sort of thing. But that person will appreciate you trying to save them money,
correct,
right? And only giving them what they need rather than loading them up. And then there's a chance that person will go away and go, geez, I actually think I got ripped off.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. I was
100%.
going to say you almost start smaller. It's like the compound effect again, where start the sale, be a lot more honest with them than it is sales orientated, which we've been discussing the whole time. But you're going to build that trust after that first experience. I know people that from the retail world. Lee Munro is one in particular. He is a very, very good salesman, and not just salesman. Forget the fact that he's a good salesman. He's a good bloke, right? And
area sales manager for Platypus now.
For Platypus,
for New South Wales.
He's also brought Nike.
He's brought them up quite profusely in the eastern suburbs as well.
Hype DC. So he's been around for a while and he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
But the best advice he gave us when I was part of the retail world with the label about a year and a half ago. He said to me one Thursday night, he came down on a Thursday night and dealt with us on Thursday night trade and stuff like that, and the way he was just cracking on with these clients, it was great. It was almost like he was throwing clothes at them, but to tell you the truth, half of them walked out with only, say, one T-shirt, and he threw about $1,000 worth of gear at them the whole time. But it was the conversation he had with them.
Probably chatting to them like they're mates, yeah?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Long term, building relationships.
Very long term, keeping them comfortable, because we had a very narrow store in our Parramatta Westfield shop. So it was it could be awkward at times, right?
Yeah.
If there was not many people in there, and it almost felt like a Mexican standoff from the front and the back, right? So you had to make it very inviting and warm, and that's how Lee did it. Lee did it by even positioning himself in a certain area of the store, which I know all retail assistants, that if there are any listening tonight, they will know exactly what we're talking about. Positioning in the store is a major part, and it was almost like he trapped him, like he kind of let him walk in, and then he was at the front door, and then he came from behind and said, all right, like, I'm with you now, I'm one with you, I am you, I'm not a salesman now, you know what I mean? And again,
gets on the same page,
and just he had told me on a few examples, and one of them in particular was a lady that came in with her kids. I think this was at Hype, so quite a few years ago now. And she came in, and I think only bought maybe one or two pairs of shoes for her kids, whatever. But the fact that he was talking to her about her child, one of the kids' grand finals, soccer grand finals, something like that. She came down back to the store 3 months later. He still remembered that conversation, And he reckons the smile that was on the child's face, not just the mother's face, but the child's face. And he said to his mum, like, wow, like, because she apparently reported back to him, said, my son was so incredibly wowed by the service, and he was young, by the way. Anyway, he, she was just saying it was unbelievable. Like, I've never been treated like that before. And you can guarantee that she will, wherever Lee goes, she will go to shop with you.
Yeah, it's a memorable experience.
It's a memorable whatever experience. You do.
Yeah. This is one for sales reps. Just on that, if you want to give the customer that you deal with a memorable experience, and you aren't already using a CRM, you're silly.
Yeah.
If you don't know what a CRM is, it's a customer relationship monitoring system. I use one day to day. I actually use it for my personal life as well, constantly. I use an app called Zoho. It is sensational. You basically just put in there the person's name, details, and all sort of stuff. But after every conversation with the person, I'll jot down a couple of notes and all sort of stuff too. And before I call them the next time, I'll have a look at them and go, all right, cool.
This is what we spoke about.
Last time. Bring that up again. Ask how their dog's going. Because he was sick last time or something like that. And they go, fuck, Chris really cares. I'm not saying I don't. I've got a lot on my plate, so I forget a lot. You know what I mean? And I've got a lot of strategies on how to make sure that I'm efficient while I'm forgetting so much at the same time too. And this is probably one of the strongest ones that I have. That CRM has saved my ass so many times. Because if you can do that in conjunction with putting little calendar reminders to call that person the next time, and you've built that relationship at the point where they're calling you just for advice and all sort of stuff, because that's what it essentially rolls into at some point. It's huge.
Oh,
It is.
Well, like you
huge.
said, Chris, you've got clients who you've had for years,
Years, yeah,
right?
mate. Yeah.
That you've dealt with, and they just kind of lean on you for anything